Welcome to the Scaleup Valley podcast, where we bring the best tech leaders in the world to share with you how to scale your B2B SaaS business from 2 million to 100 million ARR. Today, we have very special guests with us. Their names are Megan Neal and Roger Bidot. They are the founders of Limitless. Roger and Megan, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we would love to get to know more about both of you. By the way, it's the first edition ever of our 90 plus episodes that we have two founders together. And so that's a very special one. So, and I would love to know more about how did you end up starting Limitless and maybe decide who would like to start and a little bit of your personal story.
Yeah, so maybe we should start by just explaining a little bit about ourselves and our backgrounds, how we came together. And then maybe tell you a little bit about the story behind Limitless and how it was founded. So effectively, Megan and I have actually been in the outsourced contact center industry for the past 25 years. We've actually worked together for the last 18 years as a team. And we've worked, each of us, across different areas of that industry in terms of operational delivery, account management, IT, product development, and also sales, selling into large enterprise businesses. And we work together as a team of four principal directors and owners of an outsourced contact center business in the UK that was called Careline Services. And we built that business from the late 90s and sold it in 2011 to the thank you, to the Hinduja Group. And after a period of a few years, we had an earn-out period, and I'll let Megan in a moment pick up the story of what happened next. But we also, along that journey, span out a different company, another product company called Semaphone, which is actually in the PCI security space. It's a separate business run by a separate management team. But we were, again, the two of us, along with our other two colleagues from Careline, the founding shareholders of that business. So very excited about the future for them. And then finally, I think something that unites both of us is that we're both very passionate about our industry and about customer service. The world of providing service, with it, whether it's contact centers or or in the future, other resources sourced by other means. And we're very keen to tackle some of the biggest issues around low pay, high attrition, and how companies can access new talent pools. So that's something that really unites us amongst many other things. So,
yeah, and so ditto, really. I mean, it's been great working with someone for so long, and then also looking to spend the next part of our careers together. Super exciting. And why we come together, actually, I mean, I think in terms of being co-founders, it's really important to have such a strong relationship, and clearly we have. So our skill sets are very good together. So I'm responsible for running the operation, running our IT and product function, and Roger runs our commercial and sales strategy. Actually, in terms of combination of skill sets, we continuously develop each other, but equally, we feel we're more powerful together, which is why we
sounds amazing, and I think it's a very good point to kind of start discussing a little bit your scale-up journey. Not only in this business, also in previous business, you can also share your experience. But it's really the importance of not becoming the bottleneck of growth of the company. So as founders, as CEO, as VPs, as COO, we all need to keep growing quicker than the company. And How did you do this transition to the leadership team, and how do you structure the team from one growth stage to another?
I think that's a great question. We could, and I think in terms of how we structured the team, I think what I would say is that importantly, it's an evolution, and that's the way to think of this. 3 years ago, when the two of us founded the business, there were two of us. We then became three when we hired our CTO. And of course, over 3 different funding rounds that Limitless has been through, raising over $10 million, we have been building a platform from the ground up. We have been building a team throughout that period. And I think in terms of how it's structured, of course, that there would be various nuances to everybody listening. So I'm kind of trying to think about sort of any key learnings and messages to give here, is that to recognize that looking back and reflecting is that you have a structure that you're aiming towards, and that's always a useful thing to have, which is a goal of where you can see how your business will be structured, and you need to remain flexible to your thinking all the way, but you're moving towards that structure, and then realize that actually at the start, the same person may actually be carrying multiple roles within the company, and that's okay, because you're cutting your cloth in terms of your cost base accordingly, and you're sharing those skill sets across those different disciplines, and to really to the audience to recognize that that's okay and that's very normal. We're actually, and I'm particularly super pleased, because since our last funding round, we've got to the first big checkpoint in that evolution, where we actually, those different teams now all have a very seasoned, a very experienced leader in each of those roles. Mm-hmm. Our functions happen to be sales, products, I should say, sales, operation, finance, and we have leaders in each of those functions.
Yeah, I think just to add, in the early days, really we were looking for maximum flexibility in the people that joined the business, and it was all people that we'd worked with before, which is the luxury of those early months and years.
It helps a lot because
trusted people, but in particular in our dev team. So our dev team, we knew clearly the product was going to be critical in terms of the success of the business, and it needed to be high quality, but also be able to adapt to the needs of our clients. We work with large-scale enterprise businesses who do have and can have quite specific needs, certainly in the early days when you're developing your product. So our route was to build a very high-quality in-house onshore dev team made up of rock stars, genuine developer rock stars, and then to support that with an outsourced relationship in India. And we had a background of working with Indian outsourcing organizations, so I actually felt very comfortable with that decision, and it's been incredibly successful for us. It is a huge effort to make that work, never to be underestimated. They are part of the family, they're part of the team, they just happen to be in India. And most of the people in that team have been with us since day one, even though it's an outsourced development operation. So that, I think, was very key to us. It's just leveraging our background in outsourcing and everything that we did. And also the second thing was taking our ethos of being a crowdsourcing business and not just applying that to the product that we built, but applying that to all decisions we make in the resourcing in our business. So, and we've used that to support us as we've needed to be agile and scale up to get to our team size, which is around about 45 right now. And a lot of the people that have started with us in agile, flex, crowdsourcing support roles have actually joined us to become full-time employees and have grown up with the business. So it's provided a great feeder, and crowd for us is everything. So, and we live and breathe by the crowd.
And then I think lastly, I would add in terms of any kind of other tips that have helped us along the way here that we reflect back. I think we very much wanted to create a set of values in the business and behaviours that we felt were how we wanted to work, how we wanted the business to operate under. And we did that not just the two of us, but we shared that responsibility with the team at the time to build those behaviours and values. And then we've looked at using those to recognise that we will employ lots of different kinds of people with different kinds of skills, but there will be a commonality around our business culture, philosophy and our ethos, where we can get that harmony of everybody kind of working under the same priorities, the same goal, and working to the same values. And that's something that as founders is really dear to our hearts. And it's served us well in previous businesses, so we wanted to instill that here.
Absolutely. I think that this is really something even more difficult sometimes in a services company, and kind of bringing all those set of values and the culture really helps to scale the business, and also to make people feel more empowered and more able to scale the business faster, because if anything needs to come to the founders to be decided, then it's become again very difficult to scale. And I know that you guys travel a lot, so it really doesn't help also in your energy management side. And what was one of or the most difficult VP to hire so far of those elements that you start building the leadership team upon? So what was the most difficult VP to hire?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think given what we've just described about the way in which the business has grown up and the capability that's grown up through the business, and us being able to target our, our superstars to make the Limitless Dream Team, it's really been our sales leader that has been probably the toughest to bring into the organisation. We've been a founder-led sales function with very capable people supporting us up until now. And we're really at the stage where we needed to create a formal sales structure, create the cookie-cutter approach, because we're at that inflection point of just delivering on those metrics that the next stage will want to see. So SVP of sales was, I wouldn't say a difficult role to fill, because we have a large network and we knew lots of people, but actually it was a role that we really took incredibly seriously and took our time over and made sure that we took the right person in, bearing in mind the stage of business that we're at. And of course that's very difficult because there are excellent sales leaders everywhere. If you have an attractive product and business, which we hope we do, but ultimately you need someone at our stage of business that is able to define requirements, manage a team, but also still be a player manager. And that's someone at that hungry stage of their life where they are looking to really make an impact and make a difference. That's really what we were looking for, that cultural fit. And we're thrilled that we found the person, and they've recently joined us.
Yeah, spend time looking for the person that's going to be the next game changer, not the person that's perhaps been the game changer for the last 10 years. And it's a tough one to find, but if you find that magical person, they're the ones going to take you on the journey that you want to go on.
And this is a very important muscle and usually very difficult to founders to practice. And I think that you have those kind of 25 years of experience in this muscle that helps a lot, which is really to finding the right people to the right seats across the entire leadership team. And this is incredibly important. And I like to kind of align the fundraising process of dating with investors for a long time before the fundraising itself happened to the same with VP. So kind of getting to know them. In your case, I think it's a huge advantage to already know very well the people that we work with and that we can almost communicate without speaking, which makes everything faster. Just look to each other and sometimes not even needed to look to understand what that person would do in a certain situation.
Absolutely, but also to add that we have a very good blend of never worked with before. And those people are a mixture of people that are perhaps inside the circles of the initial people that we've recruited. So they are trusted to the second person, if that makes sense. I do think it's very important for entrepreneurs, watching, to also recognize that as well as seeding with those very trusted people, that you bring in new ideas and creativity.
Absolutely. And let's bring now a topic that is highly difficult to practice, which is to kind of killing everything that is not important and doubling down on what is really important, which is the topic of focus. Nowadays, to do this kind of exercise of prioritization, it is a trend to use OKRs. There was a lot of trends in the past: balanced scorecards, objectives, and KPIs, only different tracking systems. And of course, the goal is really to define who is this very valuable customer that we can serve better than anyone else in our industry, in our category. And it's about defining that niche, the vertical, the segment that you use. So how, by the way, do you use OKRs on another tool? And if you use OKRs on another tool, how do you ensure that you don't get distracted, that you really understand what is your niche?
Yeah. Crucial and probably one of the most critical areas of advice and learning is around prioritization, focus, and making sure that you have a common goal and a goal that everybody in the organization is very familiar with and working towards. All very easy things to say, but absolutely essential that you do this. This is the bit of advice that you've got to follow. Have everybody moving in the right direction with a common purpose, and everybody understanding why they exist in the organization and what success looks like. We don't call them OKRs, but it is effectively exactly that philosophy that underpins what we do. We have a performance assessment tool, which is we call PAT, P-A-T. It's our internal tool that actually developed with our team over the last 10 years or so. And effectively, what that entails us doing is that both Megan and I have agreed board metrics, so the key metrics for the board. Now those metrics are, in our case, designed to take us from this particular funding round to make sure that we are in the right place for the next funding round. So we have a number of these kinds of metrics. Then the idea is that we flow those down, not everybody carrying those same objectives clearly, but we flow those down in a way that everybody in the organization, if they're delivering on their objectives, enables us to deliver on our objective, which is the logic. So how that works is that everybody has 5 objectives, and each objective can carry 5 objectives, which are effectively the goals in the kind of OKR type world. And then the tactics, there are what we call them tactics. There are 3 tactics for each of the 5 objectives that the individual has. So in our case, I write Megan's and Megan's writes mine, and then we agree ours.
Cool.
And then from that point, the way we're structured is that sales and finance directly report into me, and operations and products directly report into Megan. So we then interpret those objectives into those teams. So what does finance need to do to help myself hit my objectives of sales, and vice versa, product and operations for Megan to hit her objectives. And then it cascades down where each line manager is passing down not the responsibility, but new objectives that all together enable. Does that make sense? And that's kind of how we've structured it. And Megan, do you add anything?
Yeah, no, just to add that there's an art to that. It's a methodology that has worked for us in the past, but the art is about not making those each of those objectives too specific, because then we need flexibility in our business. We need to stay focused on the goal, but on a weekly basis, we need flexibility to make sure people are able to make the right decisions. So the goals really aren't about directional do this. The goals are remember that the aim is that we can achieve this level of resolution rate, or this level of response time, or this level. It's not how. And that's really important. And that's actually quite hard when I work down with the managers who are lower down in the business to get them thinking like that. So we spend a lot of time with them to help them understand the art of goal translation, I guess, so that people feel like they're empowered to make the right decisions, as opposed to being directed to behave in a certain way.
And finally, they're quarterly. Yeah. So we're not doing this for a whole year. Everything moves too fast. So and that process that we've talked through, that can take a couple of weeks. So it wouldn't be meaningful to do it monthly, but quarterly is our cycle.
But it makes all sense. And what is the system in place? So of course you'd be talking about already some of the meeting rhythms that you use to track progress and to make decisions. And what is the system in place that you have for this? And second, do you have any special meeting rhythm apart from the most common ones, like the weeklies, the dailies, the monthlies, the quarterlies, or the all ends that you kind of are using in your organization that is being extremely useful? So another founders and CEOs in the show can also start trying to apply and benefiting from your experience.
Yeah,
a couple of things.
Yeah, do you want to give one?
Yeah. Well, actually, I wasn't sure which one you were going to say, so I'll give one. And
then I might try the other.
One I was going to share, which I think might be slightly different, it's really about open communication. And Roger and I are aware a lot. We aren't visible in the office all the time. We're very conscious of the impact that can have, having been a very dominant kind of feature in the organization for a number of years, and now actually we're out visiting our clients, prospecting, attending conferences on a global basis. So, and for me, it's important that people still feel close to us, to the vision. We're still at that stage of business. So actually, we make whilst we're out on those roadshows, effectively, we make it our mission to informally communicate what we're doing, who we're meeting, and share that. And we use a number of different communication tools in the business, so messaging platforms, etc., and make sure that's coming back, and then allowing people, even though they're not with us, to feel part of that journey, because we get hugely excited and inspired by all those amazing engagements. But I'm very cognizant of the fact that back here, it's the same day in, day out. They're really working super hard, working really hard on developing everything. They don't get to experience what we do. So trying to bring that to life for them is, for us, a really important part of communication, albeit it's not hugely formal.
Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily a revolutionary idea, but we do use show and tells, and I think that's a really, in addition to, because we do all of the things that you were mentioning, the town hall monthly for the business, and we have weekly leadership meetings and all of those various cycles. I wouldn't downplay or underestimate that for the audience. They are massively important. If you're not doing, if you like, those regular the weekly leadership meeting with your team, because very much part of if you like the OKR type process is that you absolutely need to make sure that you've got that kind of in their work, a very healthy team, and that comes through communication, the ability to debate. But the show and tell is absolutely really helpful. Because what we find is that the teams are all doing amazing things, and it's really important to take time to celebrate and to share that across the other teams, to bring unity, to bring understanding, wow factors. So that's really cool. If you have more than one founder, and if there are 2 or 3 of you, then make sure that you meet regularly. Megan and I are meet very, very regularly, and make sure that we are aligned. We kind of 18 years kind of feels that we've. I don't ever take that for granted, that's another key point.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, when new people join the business, when people join at different stages of the organisation's growth, development, what we're working on, there are different things going on, and it's important that they still get to understand why we founded the business. So we're very focused on everyone's early life journey with the organisation. They get that same experience. And that's one-on-one time with us, that's understanding our vision and our mission, and also knowing that, we're still small, they can still come to us at any point with any questions. Whilst we do have quite a structured hierarchy, because we do like people to see the opportunity of progression, as opposed to alternative businesses that may have very flat hierarchy. We like people to be able to see what's the next step on the ladder. But that doesn't apply to communication and accessibility to us. So, and that's a really important thing for us, is that we know we can offer that open communication, but in a structured environment.
Oh, and sorry, 2 more. Every month, everyone that's new, because fast-moving business, we're adding new employees are joining every month. So Megan and I meet anyone that joins each month, and we have lunch just for an hour, just around the corner from the office. We make sure to welcome everybody and talk about, find out about them and talk about the vision, answer their questions. And then the other thing that is very, very good to do, it's been done by others, but it's the warm-up meeting on a Monday morning. So 15 minutes, what are we doing this week? What are the big things? What are the big initiatives? It's not a big presentation. It's literally standing around, just get, as it's called, the warm up, and away we go for the week.
That's a very, very, very good one for everyone who is listening to the show to implement. And we have been discussing the team, the importance of the team, the importance of strategy, focus, prioritization, the importance of execution and keeping the ball moving forward, keeping everyone on the same page. And we come to a moment of the show where we discuss one of the critical ingredients of scaling, which is cash. So if we run out of cash, we are out of business. And you were saying before, when we were discussing strategy and focus, that part of your prioritization is based on the different milestones you need to achieve in order to raise funds in good conditions. Some of the tools that we have available in the market nowadays to define those milestones, and one of those is the SaaS napkin from Christoph Jans of Point 9 Capital. Another one is the triple 2 times, double 3 times rule from Matrix Partners, or if I'm not wrong, from Hagral. I always forget the name of this investor who wrote this article. Do you really believe that in order to keep in this game of venture capital and of kind of raising the next round, we really need to double and triple every single year, or do you have a slightly different opinion?
Great question for 2 founders. I think that there's a couple of different answers that I could give to that question, as well as your different perspectives. Mine would be that they are, I'm afraid, quite real in terms of how you can be judged. So whether you agree or disagree, the hard reality is that you need to understand those metrics. What I would say, then I'd flip to what I believe, which is I don't think it makes you a bad business to be growing at a different pace than hyperscale.
Got it.
So not every business is going to be a unicorn. Not every business is going to be scaling at different stages. at hyperscale. And I think it's nuanced, and I think it is a shame that often VCs can't, and not all, but don't necessarily, you can't just apply the same rule book to a B2C to a B2B. And I'm not suggesting that they don't understand that, but the metrics, for example, if I apply Limitless, Limitless is a platform that enables enterprise businesses to crowdsource customer service and engagement by onboarding crowds of product users, experts, whether they come from their customer base or their third-party partners or even their employee bases. It's a crowdsourcing. It's in the B2B enterprise space.
Right.
We are transforming an industry. Before we started, nobody had conceived the idea of being able to do this. Fears around, rightly so, around security, data protection, quality, how you can achieve what we've achieved. So the point there is that it's very difficult to scale triple, double,
right.
at that million point. I would say we are absolutely going to hyperscale, but there is a point where the market is absolutely ready for our proposition. And that might actually take a little bit longer before there's an inflection point. In fact, it will do, and there's going to be in our nuanced position. So hopefully there's some logical answers there, but I would say that you need to track the metrics because we've trodden the path to many doors of the VCs, both in the US, East and West Coast, and Europe, and they come back to the same scaling metrics with the same questions on the same list. And if you want success, you need to be able to speak the language. And the better you do that, the better you are.
Yeah, I think just to build onto that, really, our experience is that if you have a good business that's clearly recognized, if you have a good product market fit, that's clearly recognized, even if it is early in the education of an industry, of a new way of working. And if you have a great team that are able to execute on the concept and the product market fit, then absolutely there is no challenge in getting funding. And really then it's just about the process you go through to negotiate the best deal for yourself as founders and on behalf of your other investors. And I guess the learning from us is that absolutely everything is negotiable. So make sure you have options on the table, not just one. Make sure you've got more than one. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, then really need to think about your product market fit and your concept. And then really that's the point at which you've got the best opportunity to make the business successful.
That's very, very, very good points, and we are coming to the end of the show, and with one of our very favorite questions, which is if you would have the opportunity to meet yourself when you were starting Limitless, what advice would you offer to your younger self? So very shortly, and Megan, if you want to start. Or...
Yeah, I think it's really hard to reflect, isn't it, and go back and think. I think I would have been more bold. I think knowing that we've got a great product now, being stronger with people about some of the threats of competition in the early days, knowing what the passion, the strength, the domain experience that we have to make us successful is just having more confidence in yourselves. Actually, that's probably what I would tell myself. And also, we've chosen to do this at a time of our lives when, we did have 25 years experience. And actually, I think that's working out really well for us because I would echo and encourage lots of other people who are at different stages of their life who may be thinking, do I really want to start up a business right now? You can do it anytime. Do it in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. Just go for it. And if you have that true passion, you'll make it work.
It's very encouraging, Roger. Yeah.
I think don't be afraid to celebrate every small win, because you will have lots of things that you worry about continuously. So celebrate every small win and don't worry about doing that. People will always, it's old advice, but I would be telling myself this: protect your equity. Absolutely protect your equity. Don't undersell yourself at any point. If you believe in it, make sure you get the very best deal. Don't give away that equity. I mean, one of the things that's worked really well for us is we have an amazing group of angel investors, over 20 of them, as well as big VCs that are invested in us. They are effectively a network of people that are helping us. They're all from around the industry. They've all paid for their equity at the rate of each round, and been very happy to do so. It's a great model. Don't be convinced by people that want equity for free. The strike rate of success is not always assured. And then lastly, linking into Megan's point, no matter how experienced or confident, etc., you are, well, we both share this. You always have this self-doubt and worry, and it's linking into Megan's point around confidence. All I would say is that's very normal. Don't worry if you're having self-doubt, worried about how other people perceive you. It is the curse of the founders. We're all in that same boat. I actually encourage you to talk to other founders, tell them how you're feeling, and get a bit of comfort from sharing that with other people that have experienced the same as you.
Oh, this is huge value to the audience, and I really love this last one. Be careful with self-doubt. I think it happens to every single one of us, and I think that sometimes the founder decides to step back too soon, and he or she is the right person to keep leading the company. So that's really someone that totally resonates with me. Megan and Roger, it was really a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to our community, thanks for being on that side. You know that we are always looking for feedback to make this show better for you, so you scale as fast as possible from 2 million to 100 million ARR. So feel free to send me an email to mike@scaleupvalley.com to let us know what topics and what guests might add more value to you in the future. So keep scaling, and thanks again for being on that side.
Mm-hmm.